All right, Nick. Coming in live once again in the bottom of the ninth, which means Reds have a lead. A sizable lead. We'll see if they can hold on to it. I'm not there yet, Nick, but I'm one step closer. Possibly getting back on this bandwagon.
I love it.
Oh, no. I have Nick muted. I don't know if I have Nick muted. There's a chance I do. There's a chance you have yourself muted.
We'll go in and out.
No, I figured it out. You're not muted.
How are we looking?
I think what I have is a situation where this is the good news. When you've done 190 shows, you usually are able to troubleshoot all the possible issues in real time. Turns out this time, it just happened to be the fact that my computer audio was sourced to, not my headset. So
am I good?
You're great. Yeah.
Okay.
As soon as I looked down and I seen that your levels were bouncing, I knew that I had a problem.
Well, it's better to be bouncing than not bouncing.
Yes. The question always is whether or not the audio is leveled, which I'll be honest, I don't know how I ever get. You know, the weird thing is that when I go on the platform when we stream for you, I'm always low, and every time we do this show, I'm always too high. And by high, I mean my levels.
That is interesting. I mean, I guess, we're in front of our friends, so we'll just talk shop right now.
Sure, yeah, why not?
The last time I had you on, I changed you to auto adjust your volume.
Yes.
So it wasn't on that before. So I think whatever level you set it at now, you should be able to. It should auto adjust to you. It wasn't doing that before. So I don't think you should worry about that.
I could have said something when I came in last time, or like the last few times, because it gives you in the preview screen, it gives you the opportunity to kind of see what your levels are when before you join. And it's always really low. I try to adjust it on my end through the Roadcaster. It doesn't adjust. It's almost like it does nothing. But
you might, if you turn it up, it might turn it right back down.
Yeah.
Like once you talk a little bit, it a lot of times people will come in and like if they're coming hot during a show, they'll come in like really hot and then like it'll adjust, but it takes like, them talking for a minute or 30 seconds or whatnot.
Sam Mole, one down.
Kerry, I am very aware. I am very aware. I'm assuming Dylan Cease is not going to come back out after a 2-hour rain delay.
I love guys that just throw strikes. It's a fantastic trait.
Samuel's a nice pitcher to have in the ninth.
Yeah. Zuleta, man. Likes to make it interesting.
It's so weird that like his first couple outings were so like strong and consistent. You would have thought like, I don't know. You know what? Maybe I got a theory here, Trey. So The first 2 times he came up, I'm pretty sure he was told like, you're coming up for one day, like, and you're coming back down.
Got it.
And I wonder if this time, he comes back up and knows he's actually got a chance to stick after they trade Lucas Sims. And I wonder if he's put a little bit more pressure on himself.
It's a very, 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 very wise thought. Yeah, I mean, it's very, very possible. Baseball's between the ears most of the time. Make a play. Right? Foul ball. This show's going to be interesting. Largely because it's like, it's a positive show. It's a great show, but it's like, I don't really know what to say show. We usually always figure that out, but
it's not going to be a positive show tonight.
I said it's no. I said it's a positive show.
Barnhart signing.
Oh God, Please tell me that's not on the rundown.
He's on the back half. And NASCAR.
NASCAR. I've heard Nick say that 5,000 times.
Baking in the sun with no water.
Oh, man. It takes me back right there. What a trip that was. Go. Fantastic.
There we go.
I'm always like a pitch behind. I'll see it for myself.
No,
yep. There it goes. Right down the chute. All right, folks. Some are asking, is it back on? I don't know. Is it back on? Is it back on? I'm asking for a friend.
Johnny Bench has tied it up. The Cincinnati Reds win the World Series in 4 straight. It was a sweep.
In the dirt, it's a wild pitch. Here comes Foster. The Reds win the pennant.
Larkins won the game.
That ball is fair. Cincinnati's ahead. 2 games to none.
Welcome Joe Randa to Cincinnati. Adam Dunn has done it again.
Benzinger backing and calling. And the 1990 World Championship belongs to the Cincinnati Reds.
Marty, yes. This is Adam from Milwaukee. Hey, Adam, how you doing? I'm good. How are you? Good. Do you think Scott Chatterbox is a good player?
Dunn up there with the bases loaded. The outfield deep and around toward right to the 1-0 on the way to the plate. Swung on. Long drive. Right field. And this one belongs to the Reds.
And a high drive. Hit back into deep right field. Junior has just knocked the door down to the 500 club.
Benson's first home run is a walk-off winner. That ball had a family.
And De La Cruz is, oh my goodness, look at this kid run. My, oh my, that is a triple.
Matt McClain's first big league bomb.
Spencer Steer's first big league hit is a home run to straightaway center field. Joey Votto's done it again.
The pitch. Votto swings high in the air. Right field. Yes! He pointed to the dugout to say, I told you. That is Joey Votto's 315th career go-ahead ribby. Only Johnny Bench had more as a Red.
And I can't tell you how much it means to play in front of everyone here in Cincinnati as a Red. What a gift. What a tremendous gift. So thank you. Thank you.
I think I can speak for all of Reds country. Joey Votto, thank you.
High drive. Left center field. Racing back to the Laurent Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? Did he? He did! He did! Reds win! Reds win! Line into right field. Junior, the first Red ever with 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line. Doesn't have a chance. The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramon Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first and Homer Bailey for the second time in his major league career has tossed a no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Holy moly, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win. What a dream beginning to the career of Jay Bruce.
Winning edition. Another winning edition of Chatterbox Reds, and we are one step closer to 8 games. And I gotta admit, Nick, it's 2 more, and we are completely on the we're on the watch. We're on the watch. We're not there yet, but the last 2 nights have looked very convincing. And as I said yesterday, maybe you start to believe a little bit more and more day by day, and you start scoreboard watching next week. Although, I must admit, there are people in the chat and you already doing that, so we'll kind of leave it to you for the next week or so to let us know what's going on. But Nick, a good night. Very fun night. Pleasant night to watch the Cincinnati Reds. It just was.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of get-rights. Noelvi Marte, Nick Lodolo, Ty France. A lot of get-rights. Elly De La Cruz just continues to be out of this world. I don't know what else you say at this point to what he's doing. Yeah, this was a good win. This was the toughest game on paper of the series. We'll see how the next two shape out. I think the Reds probably caught a break catching Max Meyer on his third start coming back. I bet if you see him in a month, he might be a very different pitcher, but they took advantage of it. And that's all you want your team to do in these kind of games is take advantage.
Yeah, they did. I mean, Max Meyer was probably the biggest, and I know we keep emphasizing it on paper, the biggest threat to kind of spoil the plans of maybe trying to do something special. And by special, there's only one word that comes to mind when it comes to what you could possibly do to the Miami Marlins, and that's sweep them. Winning a series is good, right? And that's what kind of stinks about the predicament that this ball club finds themselves in, is that you're going to win some series from here until the end of the year, and you're still possibly going to be disappointed, right? And I'm not here to suggest for a single second that you should be upset that they won a series, but disappointed and upset are two different things. We'll see if they're able to kind of do the unthinkable here and rattle off enough wins to get back in the race. But in the meantime, we'll just stick to it. You know what they always say, day by day. That's what good quality programs or organizations do. They just focus on the task that's at hand. And the Reds won tonight, so we're going to talk all about it. Nick, anything that you'd like to add before we jump into the world-famous Box Score recap presented by you?
World famous?
I think it is, yes.
I love that. Now, the only other thing I would add is whether the Reds get back in the race or not is kind of irrelevant too. I do think it is important that they finish the year strong. I think that's important. There's no guarantee of like a higher draft pick. Like, you're not really tanking anymore. Like, the Reds had the second worst record, got the 7th pick. Like, it's just not incentivized to really like even want to get a draft pick. So it's very important that the Reds finish this year strong. They have a lot of individual players that finish this year strong and build something to 2025. Whether that results in a miraculous run to the playoffs or not, it's still important, in my opinion, that they do finish this year strong.
Definitely important to David Bell, you would like to think. So,
yeah.
But I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. They're getting hurt. It's not going to hurt if they finish strong. If the wheels completely fell off, I do think that there would be some sizable organizational changes, and I'll leave that kind of gray. You can make of that what you wish, but there's certainly some reasonable people that are in that organization right now that are hoping for the best for this baseball team. So, all right, August 6th, 2024, the Cincinnati Reds, they win 8-2, but you might want to know how they did it, and that's why we have the world-famous Box Score recap presented by Nick Kirby.
All right, Reds taking on the Marlins, game 2 of 4 at Lone Depot Park in Miami. Nick Lodolo against one of the top 100 prospects in baseball, Max Meyer making his 6th career big league start. No score going into the second inning. In the top of the second, Tyler Stevenson crushed a home run to straightaway center field. 1-0 Reds. Stevenson sets a new career high with 14 homers. Top of the third, Elly De La Cruz demolished a double to right field at 114 off the bat. He would later score on a TJ Friedl double, 2-0 Reds. In the top of the fourth, Reds really broke it open. Jake Fraley and Noelvi Marte led off with singles. Jonathan India was hit by a pitch. And then Elly De La Cruz doubled again, this time to left field, 4-0 Reds. Sack fly from Friedl made it 5-0. And then a Stevenson RBI single made it 6-0. Nick Lodolo had only allowed one base runner and had struck out 7 batters through the first 3 innings. Lodolo looked like he was going to get out of the inning in the 4th with a double play, but the call was overturned. And then Nick Lodolo's command left him temporarily. He ended up walking 3 batters in total in the 4th inning, and the Marlins got 2 runs back on an RBI single from Derek Hall. That made it a 6-2 ball game. Ty France got a run back for the Reds in the top of the 5th when he homered for a second straight day to make it 7-2. Nick Lodolo retired 6 of the final 7 batters he faced, with the only runner reaching base being on a hit by pitch. Lodolo's final line, 6 innings, just 2 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts. Fernando Cruz struck out 2 batters in a perfect 7th. Then in the top of the 8th, Noelvi Marte crushed a double at 107 off the bat, his second hit of the day. Elly De La Cruz singled for his 4th hit of the day. Elly becomes the first Red with 4 hits in back-to-back games since Dimitri Young in 2001. That stat courtesy of Matt Wilkes. Spencer Steer then hit a ground ball to shortstop at the Marlins shortstop. Xavier Edwards had no chance of getting Elly at second, but should have easily got Steer at first. Elly took a big turn at second, and it appears as if first baseman Jonah Bride must have saw Elly turning, and he did not field the ball cleanly. Marte scored Elly to third, 8-2 Reds. Yasver Zulueta loaded the bases, but then threw a scoreless bottom of the 8th. And then Sam Moll threw a perfect 9th with 2 strikeouts. Reds win 8-2. Reds now 58 and 55 on the season.
Deep drive of the day, baby. We got some good ones lately. That's good. We're not going down to the old DSL Rojas. This is the big boy club. Tyler Stevenson, 14th home run of the year. I'll tell you what, man. Don't look now, but Tyler Stevenson, maybe he's putting it together. Maybe he's not. I know this. He put it together tonight. 104 mile an hour off the bat, 418 feet. That's big boy by Tyler Stevenson. That would give the Reds a 1-0 lead, and that would jump their win probability up to 60%, a 10% increase. And as we all know, it would become 100%. What is 100% is DSC being a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information, and thank you to John and his team. First on the list here that you have is Elly De La Goat, and I think we say it every single time on this show, more times than not, that what else are you supposed to say about this kid? I came to a conclusion tonight, though. Elly plays the game with a little bit of reckless abandon, and I think there are times where, as we've said before, that we would like to make sure that he understands the situation, and we tell him, hey, this is probably an inappropriate time to do what you do 99% of the time. Because 99% of the time, Nick, it's more than fine. And it makes perfect sense to do the things that he does. He paid attention tonight on 2 things. 2 things that come to mind that I don't call them high IQ plays. I call them being extraordinarily talented, coupled with the fact that he wants to use that talent as much as possible. He's looking for a reason to show his speed. He does that on a nightly basis. He's looking for a reason to show his speed. One time, the third baseman was napping a little bit, not paying enough attention, and he realized it, so he, made a mad dash for third base, and by the time the third baseman even realized it, he was late for the bag, so Elly was able to take third base. And then the other time was, as you said he took a hard turn. I think Elly, for those that didn't get a chance to see it, and many of you that are watching this show live did, but maybe after the fact, that watch this show on a later date, if you didn't get a chance to see it, I genuinely think he was going first to third on a ground ball to shortstop. And you might ask yourself, how in the hell is that possible? Well, he takes off for second base as soon as the ball hit. The shortstop realizes, I'm not going to go to second base to take my chances on getting Elly there because it's going to be a bang-bang play. I'm going to go to first. Elly recognizes that about 15 feet or 10 feet before he gets to second base that he was not going to have a play at second. So he rounds second, and he starts taking off for third. First baseman notices it clearly that he's going to have to make a play at third base. He takes, a half a second or a fraction of a second, his focus off of trying to scoop a baseball, and instead of a play at third, you have a missed scoop at first base, and there's no play anywhere. Steer's safe at first, and again, those are just the small things, Nick, that you'll never see in a box score recap. You'll never see even like 5 days from now. Nobody's going to point to that play and be like, well, that error on the shortstop was actually because of Elly De La Cruz. And it's like, well, Elly De La Cruz wasn't hitting. It's like, yeah, actually, I know. You've never actually probably seen it in baseball before, but the guy was going first to third on a ground ball, and it caused havoc. That's what he does. And I don't know what else is left to say about him. And we're not going to do the song and dance again tonight that we have to sign this guy, but I mean, what else do you need to see from him?
Yeah, I'm watching that play, and to be honest, the thought crosses my mind. I'm just like, sad my kids aren't older right now. Like, I don't know if my kids will be big Reds fans. I'm going to try my hardest not to force it upon them, but I've never watched a player like Elly De La Cruz play for my favorite baseball team in my entire life. And like, I'm like, man, I kind of wish like they could enjoy this with me. One at bat that stood out to me tonight that might not get as much recognition because it wasn't his hardest hit ball of the night. Still 99.5 miles per hour off the bat. So still pretty decently hit, but his second double in the fourth inning fell behind 1-2, fouled off a couple tough pitches, and then hit a fastball that was actually located pretty well down and away from Mayer. Took it the other way. I thought it was just a great piece of hitting. You know, when I saw him get down in the count, my first thought is wipeout slider, because I knew that was what was in the scouting report for Mayer. Mayer didn't go to the slider as his getaway pitch. Although Elly did foul off a slider, and those were the kind of at bats where he fell behind that he didn't get out of very often before. Now it feels like he's not getting out of all of them because he is still striking out like most power hitters do, but he's getting out of a lot more of these at bats when he falls behind in the count. He is a much more competitive hitter all the way through his at-bats than he was. And that's the part of his game that is sped up faster than I thought it would, development-wise. I thought that was going to take him, I don't know, say years, but I thought that would take him a lot longer than a couple months in the middle of a baseball season. And he's going to get cold at some point. Like, we need to recognize that. He's going to have a cold streak at some point this year. But what he's doing right now is just, I don't know, it's incredible to watch every night.
Elly feels like a player that you don't expect there to be a significant amount of progression from because of how talented he already is, if that makes sense. It's like, how much more gifted and good could you possibly be? And then you realize and you forget maybe that he's only 22 years old. He's not had a lot of organizational baseball experience. You know, that's the one thing that I will openly admit. And I don't know Elly's complete background, but typically, and I'm saying typically in quotes here because I don't want anyone to take this the wrong way. Typically, if you grow up in America and you play within organized baseball in America, you're going to be maybe a little bit farther along the pathway of what your total ceiling would be before once you get to 22, 23, 24 years old. I think Elly, again, a lot of those kids, when they grow up in the Dominican, they're playing backyard games. They're not playing organized baseball as if they would in America. So there is an opportunity for them to get I guess, a little more seasoning once they get here. And they might, for lack of a better word, become so much better than you ever expected them to be because they just didn't have the resources, I guess, for lack of a better word, that they would have had if they grew up here. So, I don't know what the ceiling is for Elly, but I will say if he gets even remotely close to as good as he's gotten from the start of this year to now, even if he did it next year and maybe one more time, he is by far a top 2 or 3 baseball player in the entire league already at 24 years old, probably. It just doesn't grow on trees. We all know what we're witnessing. Like, if you watch this team on a nightly basis, you know it's there. If you want to be like semi-pessimistic about it, that's fine. That means one thing to me. It means that you've let the past of what you've seen of Cincinnati Reds baseball affect your viewpoint of what Elly could be or is. You have a little bit of a negative connotation to everything that is associated with the Reds, and I understand that. Because, Nick, I got news for you. If this guy played for the Cardinals, and I know that's a terrible thought, but if this guy played for the Cardinals, I guarantee every single Reds fan would say, oh, man, I can't believe that the Cardinals got him. Like, he's literally going to be the best baseball player ever. we have some fans that still don't do that because they just think it's all doom and gloom all the time. I don't know what more you need to see. I mean, I say that honest to God. Like, this isn't a bit. What more do you want? Because there's nothing left for him to show. It's all there. Now it all comes down to how consistent will it be. And I'll be honest, at 22, it's pretty damn consistent already. If you want it, in my opinion, if you could just guarantee me what we got this year, the next 4 or 5 years or 10 years or whatever we ended up for, I actually might be close to signing on that dotted line because it's that good. Now, I know that might not be a ceiling, Nick, but it's so damn good that it's like, I mean, I'm not going to get greedy.
There's no amount of money that stops me. The only thing I maybe get a little worried about is the AAV. Like, you don't want that to get too high to where you can't field a baseball team, but years, dollars, pay him. I don't care. Everyone else is expendable. Elly De La Cruz is not.
Our grandkids are going to be our grandkids are going to be talking about how Elly De La Cruz is still on the books for a couple more years.
I don't care. I hope they're still paying for him when my grandkids are here if it keeps him.
Yeah, well, hey, just pass it down to the next generation. We'll figure it out. I ain't worried about it. I don't have anything left to say about him. I thought that those two plays were, I mean, they were who they are. They're Elly De La Cruz.
We did get a super chat. I know you said you weren't going to talk about
the
contract, but we got a super chat. Legit question: what would it take to re-sign Elly, and can the Reds afford him? So, like, again, we apologize to the people that hear us talk about this every night, but there are people that tuned in for the first time or tune in casually, and we appreciate you too. So we try to balance, talking about both, so we're not killing the regulars while also trying to, answer the questions. It's a good question. I mean, I've said before, I think Fernando Tatis Jr. is the best comp because of his age. 14 years, $340 million. It just depends on what does Elly want. Does Elly want the absolute, does he want that security? And if it's that, I think it's probably the $400 million range, maybe a little lower, but a high year.
20
13,
years.
14. I don't think it's going to go that high, but or does Elly want more of a creative contract where he has some opt-outs, where he wants to give himself more flexibility, where the Reds maybe offer him, something where the Reds get 2 more years, but he can opt out there. But if he doesn't opt out, he goes longer. There's a couple different ways to go about it. So, but if you're talking just a long-term contract, I think Fernando Tatis Jr. is pretty much the best comp of anything that I've seen. Julio Rodriguez is an interesting contract with so many layers to it that maybe the Reds go that route. Just depends on what Elly De La Cruz wants.
20 years, $400 million.
I mean, yeah, sign me up right now. I mean,
I'm just saying that'd
be a lower AAV.
Well, that's my point. I mean, we got to treat this a little bit like a mortgage. I mean, we're gonna, and I guess a mortgage isn't a great example, but we're gonna be paying for this asset that we're trying to purchase long after the asset can still do something for the organization. Simply put, I'll tell you this: I hate opt-outs. I hate them with a passion, largely because I don't like the idea of being on a one-sided opportunity of a deal. If a guy's not good enough or he's not, something happens, he gets injured, blah, 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 you're still stuck with this crazy long contract. If I'm going to take the risk, I want the whole risk. I want it all, baby. No opting out. You're either with us or you're not. I'm willing to pay for it. But I don't want to be like, hey, I'm going to give you a bunch of money and I'm only going to get you 2 extra years outside of arbitration. And then all of a sudden, if you're the world's best player in the world, I guess that wouldn't make any sense. The world's best player at baseball, then all of a sudden you can leave, and we kind of are stuck there thinking to ourselves, well, we could have probably got out of this opt-out if we would have just ponied up an extra 2 or 3 years of AAV and paid for it. That's what I would do. Let's extend it out. If we need to do 25 years to make it work, I don't give a damn. Want to go to 30? That's fine too. Whatever. We'll make it a mortgage, 30 years. In fact, I would argue that that's actually probably a pretty good deal. in what would be that 2050, 2055. I'm assuming the interest rates are going to be a pretty good deal. Whatever we end up signing him for now is pretty solid.
You could just slide over and be a broadcaster for the last 10 years of that deal. He's entertaining. Everyone loves him.
I agree. That's a good point. Maybe the opt-out is that the Reds have an opt-out clause, which means that if they want to opt him from the thing, he still has to produce in the booth. Now, obviously, we're getting silly now, but they'll figure it out. You got to believe that as a Reds fan, you know? You have to have a semblance of hope. Please do me a favor. Don't sit here every single night and think to yourself, oh, man, we're never going to get to keep this guy. Just be naive. Just believe. And I'm not going to give you any good reason to do it. I'm just saying just do it for your own health.
In terms of could the Reds sign him? Yes, they could. The
Definitely
Royals
can.
just signed Bobby Witt Jr. to a $300 million contract.
Yeah.
The Reds and Royals have had similar payroll, similar markets, all those kinds of things. The Rays signed Wander Franco. Obviously, that ended up going a totally different way, but the Rays were still able to pony up that money. The Reds could do it. There's nothing holding back the Reds from doing it. The only question is, what does it do to the rest of the team? And I say the rest of the team be damned. You need Elly De La Cruz. You figure out a way to have a cheaper team around him because you're going to get incredible value off Elly De La Cruz. You try to stack it up with 4 or 5 different players. 99% of the time, you're going to fail.
They're going to be able to do it. The question is should they do it? And I know that I will openly admit, Nick, that there is a line in the sand somewhere, without question. But I would argue that for your own sake as an organization, and if you're in ownership, you're part of that ownership group, this is your get-out-of-jail-free card about being cheap, about not caring about winning, about all those things. Pony up the money, and it's going to be hard for people to say you don't care about winning if you're going to pay the guy the most, maybe. And honestly, I know Ohtani's probably going to be a little bit higher, but point is like the highest paid player in whatever history. That's probably one way of getting around it. We'll see if they do or not. I just hope they don't try to be cute about it. Like, we can kind of replace Ellie's production by getting a guy here, getting a guy there, and getting a guy here. And if all 3 of those players pan out, it equals up to the 1. I'm not here to play those games. So it's like you got a franchise quarterback, you sign him. That's what we got.
I'll say this. I would bet a lot of money that the Reds make a substantial offer to Elly De La Cruz. I'm not going to bet on if they actually are able to sign him or not, but if you had to tell me, Nick, would you bet that the Reds will offer Elly De La Cruz more than $250 million? I would take that bet in a heartbeat. I think the Reds will do it. I think the bigger question is just, are they able to get him to sign? Because I think, look, for all the criticism of the Reds, that's very fair. They understand what Elly De La Cruz means to their franchise, to the city. I know we've had some conversations, Trace, with some folks like on opening day, and it's pretty obvious that they understand that side of this. So they're going to make a run at it. I fully believe that. I just don't know if they'll be able to get it done. That's what we'll have to see. I don't want it to become a toxic thing, though, to where it's like, well, they're not going to, they're not going to sign him. They're not going to this. They're not going to that. Let's wait and see how it plays out and just try to enjoy him while we have him right now.
Exactly. Just wait till the end. And I'm going to offer some free PR and we'll move on to the next segment here. A couple ideas, I guess. Nate, thanks for being a nut cutter as always. He chimes in. He just said Michael Rolfe could single-handedly super chat that Castellini needs enough money to pay for Ellie's contract. Also, I had a used cooking oil party last night, and it was fun. I see why DSC enjoys their biz.
What an elite chat. What an elite chat.
Oh, man. I don't even know what to say to that one. But what a wild super, Nate. Kudos to you. What the hell was I going to say? Something about here free PR for the Reds. This is what I would do if I was Phil. I'm not Phil. Don't want to be, but here's what I would say. I'd say, listen, we believe in Elly De La Cruz. maybe this isn't what you're supposed to do in negotiations. Obviously, when you negotiate contracts, you want to try to have leverage, this, that, and the next. Elly means the world to us. He means the world to us. We want to keep him in Cincinnati, and we will try to match any offer that he gets unknown to mankind. There will be not one single dollar saved trying to make sure that Elly doesn't do anything other than play in a Reds uniform for the rest of his career. It's a two-way street. He's going to have to want to come back here. We understand that, and maybe I shouldn't be doing this, but I can promise you, if there's one thing that I can promise you, it's that we're going to give everything we got to try to keep Elly De La Cruz in Cincinnati, and we'll see where the chips fall. If he just did that, then you know what? The ball's in Elly's court at that point, to be quite frank. I mean, not a bad thought. I wouldn't do that now because I'm sure they're negotiating. But if we get 2 or 3 years down from the line from this and we still haven't got where we want to get to, just go run that Hail Mary play and see how it goes. Nick Lodolo, a good outing. You know, he had his three walks, got hairy there. He put them all in back. Was it back to back or was it all in one inning? Yeah.
Well, one was before the double play that got overturned, and then he walked 2.
Yes. So, I mean, ultimately, in the same inning, he walks 3 guys. He puts himself in a jam, gives up a base hit, obviously, and he's able to weasel out of it and get himself to a spot where 2 runs allowed. But, give Nick Lodolo credit. He tonight was what we needed him to be because ultimately we weren't sure what Mayer was going to look like, and Lodolo wasn't a stopper tonight, but he was a what's the right word? Those orange vocabulary books are escaping me. But what would you call it? He's allowing it to continue. Is there a better word for that?
Moving along.
Yeah, maybe. I was thinking like a one-worder, but sure. He let the momentum move along, as Nick would say.
Yeah, he was very good early in this game. Shout out to Nick Lodolo for hitting his under strikeouts in 3 innings.
Oh, man.
Even though he didn't strike anyone else out the rest of the game. So shout out to those first 3 innings. There might have been some folks that needed that tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was really good the first 3 innings of this game. The 4th was obviously not his best inning, but he bounced back from it and had a solid 5th and 6th inning. Got through 6 innings. This is a good start for him to get back on track. This is a bad Marlins team that's especially bad against left-handed pitching. But you have to take care of business with the team that's in front of you. This is a Marlins team that somehow, some way won back-to-back games against the Braves. I'm not sure how it happened. One of those was 7-0. Can you believe that? The Marlins beat the Braves 7-0 on Sunday? Baseball's weird.
Baseball.
Yeah. But look, it's a good start for him with where he was. Now he needs to capitalize. I think he's going to face the Brewers this weekend. So this is the kind of start you really want to get yourself back on track before you have a really tough game on the road in Milwaukee this weekend.
Yeah, and I mean the other thing to add to just basically the situation the Reds find themselves in is that you don't really have any margin for error. Every single start is going to have to be a pretty solid start with this offense. And now this offense has been good the last few nights. I'm not here to downplay that. But more times than not, you're going to have to throw the ball really, really well to give this team a chance to win. I'm still not bought in on the offense, but we'll talk about that here in a moment. Fernando Cruz, back to looking like himself. I mean, at this point, I don't know what to tell you, Nick. They're not going to let that guy rest. So you might as well just get used to him running out there every other day. And don't you think that some of this is on Fernando Cruz? I was thinking that last night after you said what you said. I went to bed. I was thinking, about the whole Fernando Cruz situation. You had mentioned they were kind of abusing this guy. I think that's what he wants. And I know that doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. Sometimes you got to protect people from themselves. But Fernando Cruz seems like a guy that's like, if they went to him and said, "Hey, Fernando, we're worried about your inning count," I feel like he would use a 4-letter word and tell him to kick rocks.
Yeah, he might. He had only thrown 20 pitches in the last 6 days coming into this game. So they had been using him a little bit less. This was a great spot for him, 7-2 game or whatever it was. This was a good spot for him to get back on track. This was just a good spot to use him. So I'm glad they used him in this kind of spot. I'm not sure. I I'm sure I would not have him be my first option if there's a 2-1 ball game in the 8th inning tomorrow. I think he needs to do a little bit more to show me that he's back to being ready for those spots. But it was good to see him get back on track. The pitches look good.
Yep.
Tonight. I mean, that splitter looked as nasty as it's looked, and hopefully he can build off that. I don't know. I just don't know how much is left in the tank. I feel like it's running on empty. I really hope I'm proven wrong.
One thing to keep an eye on with Fernando too, it seems like, and again, I don't have statistics here in front of me to back this up. This is more of just like my eyes and maybe just me remembering things either correctly or incorrectly. But Fernando always seems, when he gets himself in trouble, he usually gets the first 2 guys out. He doesn't really get himself in too much trouble immediately in an inning and then have to dig himself out of a hole. It's usually like 2-out rallies that get to Fernando, and I don't know what that's about. I don't know if it's a mental hurdle or whatever it may be, but something to keep an eye on moving forward is if Fernando actually does get himself in trouble, is it again one of those 2-out rallies? What you do with that information, I don't know. I don't know how you fix it, but just something that I've kind of noticed as I've watched. All right, let's jump into the offense. France gets himself another home run. Hits another ball pretty well. I mean, I know during the broadcast they didn't kind of make it to be out like a big deal, but I mean, it's another 3 feet, and he's got 2 home runs on the game. So hopefully settling in. I mean, I know he's 1 for 5. I'm not going to sit here and act like it's the world's best game, but you have anything that you kind of are pro France about?
Yeah, he just needed to get out of Great American Ballpark to start getting that power. He comes to the Reds because Great American Ballpark's the ballpark that's going to fix him.
Yeah.
Struggles at Great American Ballpark, goes to Miami. I mean, I think it was more about just getting some at-bats and getting more comfortable and facing the Marlins, to be very clear.
Yes.
But again, I like him as a – I don't feel like saying a lottery ticket's very fair because this guy's had a pretty good big league career. Like, I don't feel like he's that far down the beaten path. But at least he's worn off the Mike Ford comps. At least he has shaken that the last 2 days. At least he's past that level. And hopefully he can settle in because the Reds need some power. And I mean, right now the Reds lineup has some power. It's just it almost as if you could have gone back to like early May and I showed you like the last month of games and the amount of home runs the Reds hit. Like, would you have even believed that this is possible?
No. Well, I mean, it definitely feels like the average is starting to catch up where the Reds have some making up to do from the lack of power earlier this year. That seems like part of it. But there is more to just kind of saying, oh, look at big numbers, and that's why this all is making sense now, because they have so many new guys, Nick, that, it's not so much that some guys are kind of getting right and catching back up as it is just, well, they're finding a way to put the bat on the ball and hit the ball over the fence finally. Ty Steve's a guy that he's at 14 home runs. Will he get to 20 home runs before the end of the season? I mean, I don't know. It's going to be relatively close, I would hope. But I don't know. I don't have a reason as to why the hell they're hitting more home runs now. Do you? I mean, genuinely, I think it's a weird combination of luck and...
Well, stats are up way across baseball since the first couple months of the season. Because I was looking at like...
You suggesting they're juicing baseballs or what?
I don't know if it's that or if it's the summer or what. I don't know if that's necessarily as much of a trend as it is this year. But I know from looking from some team stats, I was looking at like the team OPS leaders in April versus like June or July. And it was like if you had a 720 OPS in April, you were like the 8th best offense. And in July, that was like the 20th best offense. So the numbers across baseball went flying up. So I'm sure some of that also has played into the Reds, but they also have gotten some more power bats and guys that were struggling early in the year have figured it out. Elly De La Cruz has hit a few of those home runs, and
right.
And that's helped a lot. But yeah, it is wild how the powers come around, and you hope they can sustain it, because if they can, they can win some of these games that they don't even play all that well in offensively as a whole. They can sneak across a 3-2 win with good pitching and a 3-run home run. And you could have bad at-bats all night, but you get that one home run, it fixes a lot of your problems.
Well, I think that the beautiful thing with home runs, clearly, and the reason that many have become infatuated with them around Major League Baseball, and certainly Analytic Group has, and launch angles, and et cetera, is it's a little bit of a cheat code because, as you just mentioned, you get a walk or a hit by pitch, and the next guy, has a broken bat single. You hit a home run. You got 3 runs. It takes a lot to get 3 runs in an inning without a home run. You got to have a lot of good at bats. So clearly, there's a reason and a rationale as to why home runs are a pretty damn big important stat. Noelvi Marte, another good solid day at the plate. I again don't want to make too much of it, but it is nice to see. I mean, on a 3-0 pitch too, he's feeling confident enough to swing at a 3-0 pitch, and not only did he swing at it, Nick, but he delivered on it. He short hopped the wall. Gets himself a nice stand-up double, but an overall, another positive day, building blocks for Noelvi Marte.
Yeah, our friend Bryce tweeted it out. Last 2 games, 97, 102, 108, 104, 106, 107 off the bat. So, I mean, he's hitting the ball really, really hard. Again, it's Miami, but, I mean, he wasn't doing this at AAA. So, right. Miami, whatever. I mean, he's had 2 really good games, and I don't think momentum is as big of a deal. I think momentum's overrated in baseball. Like, say the Reds sweep this series, I don't think it means they go into Milwaukee and they're just going to carry that momentum right into Milwaukee and, man, you're ready to roll. I think that's overrated, but confidence is not something that's overrated. And Noelvi Marte needs all the confidence in the world that he can get. So you just hope guys like him, guys like France, a much lesser extent Lodolo that were struggling, Cruz, you get that right in this series, and that individually can carry over into the next series.
Yes, correct. Marte, more than anything, needs to feel like he belongs between the ears again. It's there. We've seen it last year. I'll say it, even though I don't think that many might not believe it, or he wasn't a good hitter because of steroids. I don't believe that for a single second. Can you become a better hitter because of steroids? Yeah, we all know that's obvious. But the reason that he had a 16-game hit streak, the reason that we were kind of very excited about Noelvi Marte coming into the season, I don't think it had as much to do about steroids as it is that he just looked like a very disciplined, good, big league hitter. I hope that between his ears, he gets himself back to believing that again, because if he can, then like we said before, you finish the season on a positive note. Hopefully you have some question marks answered going into the offseason, and we can start to put together a roster that actually can compete on a night-in, night-out basis at the plate to get us to where we ultimately want to go. And that's not just the postseason, but that's late into the postseason. Speaking of postseason, if you're looking to get postseason tickets, some would say that you could be a season ticket holder. I would say you could just get the Game Time app. Because if you download the Game Time app, what you're going to realize is that the user interface of the app in and of itself is very, very nice. It's intuitive. You can just click on, quite frankly, any game, any concert that you plan on going to. You can see exactly where the tickets are located on a map feature, and within 2 clicks, you can check out. Now, if you might not want to check out that quickly, but if you do, you can do it in 2 clicks. And if you use the code CINCY, CINCY, you get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Once again, use code CINCY, CINCY, you get $20 off your first purchase. And we hope you do it. And you know what? Like I said before, just download the app, have it on standby, put the code in there. Don't hold me to this, but the code is valid for a decent amount of time. And once you find the tickets that you want, use the code, and you'll be on your merry way. 988, haven't had to have it in a few days if you're a Reds fan, in regards to maybe that being the reason you need to call 988. But if you do, as always, text, call 988. Other important news on the note, I think recreational marijuana in Ohio was passed today, I heard, or not passed, but that became a thing. I just wanted to say this openly. I thought it was kind of hilarious. My wife showed me a picture. WCPO, I guess, did a story, no free ads. And there was just a line of people, and they had a picture of all these people standing in line. That has to be a terrible thing if you get caught in a WCPO picture standing in line, one of the first people trying to get recreational marijuana. I don't know. I'm not saying it's a bad thing in regards to like a personal choice. I'm saying, it's a tough look. It's kind of a tough look. Your employers, all your people that you know, all your associates, all these people, they now know, that you're the man in the line. So who knows? Nick, were you in the line?
I was not in a line.
Okay.
Contrary to popular belief.
Fair enough. Well, shout out to mantherapy.org as well. If you need help, go to mantherapy.org. NASCAR. You got NASCAR Reds on here. Nick, I know you're the lead man on this story. You've been following it all day. You've been tracking it. If you're looking to go to that game, there's going to be plenty of tickets, and you can get them on the Game Time app, I'm sure. But for those that are wondering, Nick, what in the heck do you mean by NASCAR Reds?
Yeah, Reds story broke by The Athletic today that the Reds and Braves are going to play a game at some point next season at Bristol Motor Speedway. Now, I'm fascinated to see what the dimensions and how exactly that looks. The stadium seats 100,000, but well over 100,000. But I'm not exactly sure they're going to use even maybe half of those seats. It'll be interesting to see how many seats they have available. I think this is awesome. Reds and Braves. I mean, the Reds and Braves, Bristol's right in the middle of both of those teams, so not a long drive for fans of either team. News broke. I called my dad. My dad, this might surprise a lot of people, is not a big baseball fan, but he is a big NASCAR fan. So it's kind of like our two worlds colliding. I'm going to try to go if I can. I mean, this is just a cool thing, and it might be a terrible view. I don't care. I think it'll be fun. The more times baseball can do things like this, the better. And it's cool that the Reds got to be involved in something like this. But Bristol, they're all about that racetrack. That is everything to Bristol. So it'll be cool, and I'm sure that city will really embrace this event as well.
I have a thought. I'm going to put the picture back up here. I was thinking, how could they do this? There's so many seats, blah, blah, blah. People are going to complain anyways, whatever. Like you said, I don't know if the seat's going to be good or not. I've been at games plenty in my whole life that the seats have been good. I can go to a game where the seats are bad and live with it.
And watch on my phone.
As long as it's a new experience and it's something that's relatively cool. But I do think, now, I don't want to be the first one to break this, but this is just my opinion, of course. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. But if you look at this, you see where the USA is. Let's just pretend that that's where the home plate area would be. You got the backstop. That's kind of the grandstand. I have a bet that they're going to bring in jumbotrons and they're going to mark up an outfield fence about halfway down through that area right there. And my bet is that they close off a certain amount of that stadium. Now, I could be wrong. I just know in the back of my mind they're not going to sell 150,000 tickets to this baseball game, in my opinion. But what they could do is make it look very cool and incorporate some of the aspects of the sport of NASCAR and all these things. And maybe behind this fence, hear me out, on the track and all these things, there's going to be a lot of exhibits and things that you can do that have nothing to do with the game itself, but just things that you can enjoy as a tailgate area or a private event or whatever it is. I don't know. Again, maybe that all makes too much sense, and it's not going to be that. It's going to be a baseball field, and there's going to be 146,000 people trying to watch that baseball game. But I have a feeling that they're not going to do that, and it's going to be very cool. And I'm with you, Nick. I think that we might let's try to see if we can do that. Maybe we can apply for credentials and get in there.
Could Jolly help us out on that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Our NASCAR connection.
But anyways, I digress. But yeah, very cool. It's very cool. If you've not got a chance to see it, I know for some of you that listen in podcast form, go check out either Chatterbox Sports Twitter or get on the internet. Nick put out, or whoever it was, I'm pretty sure it was probably you. But anyway, put out a picture of what was a Virginia Tech college football game. And it looks very cool with the college football game. Now, how they do the baseball, we shall find out.
They might bring in outfield seats and maybe put them like on the track. So that's possible too. They could add some extra seats, but I don't think it's cool. You know what would be cool is if this event actually becomes something. I have an idea here. Do 2 games at once on each side, and then you'd have the whole stadium full.
That would be sick.
That would look pretty cool. I mean, see how this works?
Yeah.
You could fill the whole stadium up. Obviously, they have the parking for it. Like,
right.
It's built for something like that. That would be a pretty cool event. You could have Fox, whoever gets the rights, could do a little split box of it at times, go back and forth between the games, like almost like a NFL red zone type thing.
Now you're getting somewhere, Nick. Now that's marketing. I don't know. That seems like it's too much fun for Major League Baseball. We shall find out. They've gotten better in that area, though, to be fair. Speaking of getting better, Cincinnati Reds went out today and they signed Tucker Barnhart to a minor league contract. Now, I have no idea what to make of this. I have an opinion I'm not going to share because I have respect for Tucker and Barnhart and what he did for the Reds organization and all of that. But this is a big nothing burger for me. I cannot believe that we are still holding on to... He just wants to retire as a Red. That's what I've come up with. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is a big deal. I mean, catching depth is never a problem to have in your organization. If Tucker Barnhart is coming and he's going to stay at Louisville, I mean, I'm sure he could do nothing but good to some of the arms that are going to be there soon. Brandon Williamson will be pitching there at some point in the near future. Reds are going to have some other guys going on rehab assignments, so I'm sure he could do good there. If he's coming back to get 1 game as a Red at the end of the season, I have no problem with that. That's completely fine with me. If the Reds claw back into this race and they call Tucker Barnhart back up as the 3rd catcher in September, I have no problem with this. Only way I would maybe not love this is if the Reds are completely dead by the time September rolls around and you call up Tucker Barnhart when you probably could call up a guy like Michael Trotwine that maybe could actually benefit from being up here. That's the only way this becomes something I don't like. And even that, it's not that big of a deal. It's not something I'm going to be super upset about. But overall, it's nothing. Good for him coming back to where he started. Won 2 Gold Gloves with the Reds. Had a really nice career with the Reds. And glad he's not with the Diamondbacks. Although the Reds didn't play the Diamondbacks anymore. He killed the Reds earlier this year.
I got literally nothing left to say about Tucker Barnhart.
Okay.
That's not. If you have nothing nice to say, you don't say it at all. That's what I'm going to do tonight. He had a good career. Perhaps was overrated at times. We'll leave it at that.
Maybe a little bit.
Let's keep our traditions alive here. No. Let's not do that. We got a long way to go on the show before we do that. We got to do Reds MILB. Yes. So let's do Reds MILB, and then we'll get into the who, what, when, where, and why. We'll do the traditions, and then we'll send everybody on their merry way. And hopefully we'll see them back here better than ever again to win another baseball game. I'll tell you right now, Nick, I'm gonna make a statement. The Reds find a way to win tomorrow. I think I'm back.
Uh-oh.
All
right, give me 1 second here.
That is if Austin Hendrick. I'll tell you that. It's either that or Austin Hendrick has 2 hits on back-to-back days. That's impossible.
All right, I'm going to have to do Chattanooga on the fly. I got 2 of them up, or 3 of them up. All right. So
they don't win, so what's it matter? I mean,
Louisville is struggling. They have lost 12 of 14. Now 5 games below 500. Rhys Hines did hit a homer, his first home run since being optioned. Struck out in the next 3 at-bats. But good to see him hitting his first home run. It was absolutely demolished. I think it was 111 off the bat. Jacob Hurtubise 1 for 4, stole his 10th bag of the year. Blake Dunn 1 for 5. Davis Wenzel 1 for 3. Emilio Pagan, really good to see. A perfect inning, looked really sharp. Tough day for Connor Overton down there. He gave up 2 runs, and Reaver San Martin gave up 3 runs, only got 1 out. All right, Chattanooga, they lost 9-4 to Tennessee. Loss number 70 on the season for our beloved Chattanooga Lookouts, but great news. Austin Hendrick was 1 for 4. So the day was not completely lost. And Andrew Moore threw 2 shutout innings, so that is good to see down there. Dayton, they got suspended in the top of the 5th. They're trailing 3-0 to Lake County. Only 2 hits for the Dragons, but one of them was a Carlos Jorge double. Leo Balcazar had a hit as well. Now, one team that did have a very good day was the Daytona Tortugas. They beat Dunedin 17-9. Sammy Stafura on base 4 times, hit his 4th home run with the Tortugas. I think he has 8 or 9 home runs on the year. Stole his 20th bag. That one is for the whole year. So Sammy Stafura's having an incredible year. I think he's going to he might sneak into Red's top 10 prospect list. I'll be fascinated to see kind of what they do with him at the end of the year. Isma Pineda, good day as well. He's been hot, 3 for 6, 2 doubles. Yerlin Confidant, 3 for 5, 8th home run of the year, 2 doubles. That is a guy that hits the ball very hard. He's also a guy that's having a great year, great bounce back year for him after a bunch of injuries. And then Ovis Portis made his debut with the Tortugas. Didn't go well, walked 4 batters and gave up 3 runs. But Ovis is officially a Cincinnati Reds minor leaguer. All right, and then in the Dominican Summer League, the DSL Reds, they split a doubleheader with the DSL Red Sox Red. Adolfo Sanchez 0 for 3. Jervin Moriallo was on base twice. But Yako Soriano had a great day in the doubleheader, 4 for 8. Stole his 14th bag of the year. And then the DSL Rojos, they fell 5-4 to the DSL Rays. Nabil Mariano 1 for 4 with a double.
Love that. Love that with the Reds MILB. Presented always by Nick Kirby. We also have Major League Baseball. They're still playing baseball games, and they play one mañana, which means tomorrow in another language. Nick, without further ado, who, what, when, where, and most importantly, I guess, why?
All right, another 6:40 game on Wednesday. It'll be Andrew Abbott, 9-8, 3.41 ERA against Valente Belozo. He's 0-1, 4.20 ERA. Or sorry, it's Balazzo. I wrote this on my second note. Balazzo. Balazzo is how Google Speak said. So that's what they didn't even have a pronunciation guide on this poor guy. But he has a pretty cool story. He was signed out of Mexico for just $10,000 in 2017 by the Astros. Just worked his way up to the big leagues. Only 3 career big league starts, and 2 of the 3 have actually been pretty good. First start, 5 shutout innings at the Royals. Second start against the Red Sox, they gave up 5 runs in 5 innings, but struck out 8 and only walked 1. And then his last start at the Braves, he actually took a no-hitter into the 5th inning, ended up giving up 2 runs over 5 innings. This guy started 2024 at AA, moved up to AAA. Not great numbers combined, 4.64 ERA. Obviously, with the Marlins, more out of necessity. The scouting report is he is a classic pitcher with a 4-pitch mix, fastball, cutter, slider, and changeup, and high spin breaking balls. Has the ability to mix, sequence, and throw any pitch at any count to make up for his lack of velocity, which his fastball averages just 91 miles per hour. And then Andrew Abbott for the Reds. Abbott struggled his last time out, failed to get through 5 innings in each of his last 2 starts and in 3 of his last 4. Abbott struggled in his first career start against the Marlins right before the All-Star breakup. 7 hits and 5 runs in 3 1/3 innings pitched. Jake Berger homered in that game. Now, half this lineup is no longer there from then, but Abbott, 21 home runs allowed, second most in the National League, only trailing Austin Gomber of the Rockies. But the Marlins fell today to 8-31 against left-handed pitching. So on paper, this is a pretty good matchup for Mr. Abbott. We'll see what happens tomorrow night.
Let's get another one. and we'll see if we can't find ourselves back on the bandwagon. Some never left. Some never left. Nick, go ahead.
By
Take
some
it away.
you mean me?
I definitely know you're one of them. Yep, you're one of them. I don't know if there's many more, but nice, very nice. Good job. No ricochet in the back. Really, really nice job by you tonight. Some are saying big league. Some are saying big league. All right, folks. Why not believe? You know, I don't know. I mean, that's where I'm at right now. It's like, why not? Why not believe? You know, just it definitely feels like one of those high school relationships, maybe middle school for some, but you know, where you're just not sure where it's going at times, and then all of a sudden, and it's back there again. You start talking, and then you're like, well, maybe it will work this time. I know it hasn't worked the last few times, but maybe it'll work this time. That's where I find myself with this ball club. I know deep down they ain't worth a shit. I know they aren't. I know it. I know it. I mean, I'm trying to convince myself that Ty France is the man. He's the guy that's going to resurrect this offense. Duelve Marte is going to fall out of bed one day and realize that he's a good hitter. Maybe it's just going to start coming together here in Miami and it'll just steamroll into Milwaukee. I hope so. I really hope so. But I do know one thing. Believing's better than not. So, they win tomorrow. Be prepared. I'm going to show up believing. Whether that's good or bad, I can't help myself. Take care. Enjoy your night. Go Reds.